So this is going to be my first attempt at doing one of these style videos. So let's get at it. So Surefire and EoTech, right? I did the video on Benchmade, and rightfully so, probably about 5 or 6 of you were like, oh, so you're going to take this stance on Benchmade, what about Surefire and EoTech? And what I said to those people was, I'm going to do some more research and get back to you. This is me getting back to you. So let's start with EoTech's response. Oh wait, they didn't have one. So let's just go into Surefire's response. So in EoTech's defense, they belong to L3 Communications. L3 Communications was donating to Dianne Feinstein herself, the architect of all of these super awesome assault weapons bans. I say that with maximum sarcasm. So I don't know that EoTech feels they need to respond to that because it was L3 and not EoTech directly, but it's still a subdivision, so I'm not sure. But I can imagine being in those shoes. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with EoTech. I have one build that I'm planning to do with a 416 that requires an EoTech and a G33 magnifier, so I'm not sure about that one yet. I will think on it more because it's got to be clone correct, right? Okay, so here's what they said, and I'm going to read it and go point by point. Now, before I get started, I am going to tell you that this doesn't completely clear them with me, and I'm also going to be honest in this regard. The gun community as a whole is going to give Surefire a pass because they're the best in the light market. And they make suppressors that are really good and fielded, so the clone community and a whole bunch of other people are not going to stop using it. I would also be lying to you if I said that I wasn't super heavily invested in a Surefire. I have probably about 30 Surefire products in the house between the lights and the little doodads and all the things that I have that they've made over the years. I've got a lot of their stuff, and more so, honestly. I only use their, it's funny that it's right here, I only use their batteries. So anyhow, let's not get too sidetracked, but I feel the community as a whole is going to quietly ignore this whole thing from Surefire. And this apology reeks of Springfield, but let's just get into it. I'll explain the differences between Springfield and Surefire here in a minute. Dear customers and concerned citizens, it has been brought to our attention that the past political donations from the Surefire Political Action Committee, PAC, have been called into question along with Surefire's stance on the Second Amendment. Before we get into the facts, we'd like to thank you for your support, and we sincerely appreciate your loyalty. Usually when people have to say that, they are fibbing. It's a long read, but the details should provide a fuller perspective. That's please don't hate us, and we don't think we're wrong. Established in 2010 and disbanded in 2014. Please don't blame us for our past actions. The purpose of the Surefire PAC was to gain the support and assistance of our state representatives, both Democrat and Republican, so that we had a chance at 1. Obtaining congressional funding to develop sighting technology that would improve the warfighter's ability to aim crew-served weapons, and 2, to be able to reach out to our representatives when we needed assistance doing business in California. All right, so here's the thing. They're like, hey, we put a political action committee together because doing business in California is corrupt. Got it. They could have just said that. They didn't have to get all wordy. And they were bidding for a contract. So for those that don't know, and I don't like this at all, and I honestly don't think it's an excuse. You should just build a solid product and market it like everybody else. But they were trying to get in the back door with a contract. Everybody does it. There's so many companies that do this. So can I fault them for it? No. But they should move. They're in California. What do they expect? Anyhow, and Magpul did the same thing, and they were trying to buy influence in Colorado. Colorado flipped and went blue, so they packed their bags and left. and got all of the fine residents of Colorado some magazines with their magazine airlift program. They did a good job with that. During its existence from 2010 to 2014, the Surefire PAC made donations totaling approximately $10,356 to Democrat representatives and $16,610 to Republican representatives. This sounds like bullshit to me because there's not a whole lot of Republicans in California. There are. A lot of people would be surprised who aren't from California or don't know anybody from California that they're outside the cities and mostly central and northern California. There are plenty of normal human beings and independent Republican and right-leaning people in California. But just like New York State, the cities dictate the pace for the whole state. So you'll have like 4 or 5 cities controlling everything, and the rest of the state is red. It's the same thing in California. So yes, there are Republican representatives. Yes, they're from the north. But these numbers don't make sense, to be honest. I know they put an exact dollar amount. Also doesn't make sense. But whatever. That's what they provided us. It should be noted we were unsuccessful in obtaining congressional funding for the weapons site development project mentioned above. We wasted our money. And that all of our product development has been self-funded. Duh? What do you... All right. But if you are a defense business that hopes to get congressional budget earmarked funding and or program support for defense-related projects, you typically need to get the attention and support of at least one of your state representatives, or all of them if possible, so they can represent your interests during the budget appropriation process, aka you gotta bribe them so they put your name in the hat. That's what that means. And if you don't pay them, they won't advocate for you. This is how business is done in the defense industry. By most medium-sized defense manufacturers and all of the large ones. And, man, they're using "and" a lot. It's what we needed to do to achieve our mission of ensuring the safety, success, and survival of our customers, whether military, law enforcement, or patriot citizen. Yeah, I see what you did there. In 2018, one of our employees donated $500 to the DNC Services Corp, a pro-Democrat organization. This was a personal donation, had nothing to do with Surefire. And despite the fact that we, as a company, are not aligned with this, or with his political preferences, we recognize his right to think differently and vote as he pleases. I'm sorry. Did you say you donated $10,356 to a Democrat? I'm getting confused with the numbers here. 500, 10,000? 500, 10,000. Okay. Okay. He's the one that needed to get brought up there. This didn't need to be in here. You're trying to say, oh, we employ one dude that's a Democrat and he donated, and we know because we forced him to tell us. And it's disgusting. Yeah, get off it. Surefire as an organization is 2A to the core. Hang on. Totaling approximately $10,356 to Democrat represent. Okay. Just checking. I myself am an NRA Lifetime Endowment member. Our VP of Suppressors and Weapons is a veteran and a world-class competitive shooter. And our VP of Sales and Marketing is a veteran and competitive shooter. Our military sales gave 21 years to this country, 18 of them as an Army Special Operations Commando. One thing I want you to do is check out Joe Rogan's podcast with the Navy SEAL. I forget his name. I'm really embarrassed right now. But his most recent podcast with that Navy SEAL that was talking about what he would do if there was a civil war and stuff like that. He was discussing the how to talk to people with differing opinions. He said in the SEAL community that there are people with differing opinions. And just because someone says they're in the military does not mean they're conservative or they respect the Second Amendment. There is a myriad of people that sit on their service for both sides, honestly. And I can't really fault it. I've done it too. But a lot of people assume that because you're in the military, you are conservative or you're a Republican. That is the biggest mistake people make. And don't ever assume that, because if you don't check yourself, you're going to wreck yourself. All right. So this is bullshit to me. This means nothing. Thank these two dudes for their service. This dude's full of himself. If he was an NRA lifetime endowment member, he never would have let this stuff happen. This whole paragraph doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, back to where I was. Special Operations Commando. Our graphic designers practice dry firing and handgun drills in the office. Our team building events usually involve shooting. Many of our executives' employees are concealed carry permit holders and carry daily. That's something you want to admit in California, just saying. Most of us worry about how to live our 2A lives without running afoul of so-called assault rifle laws. Okay. All right. Reduced capacity magazine regulations and all the other restrictions we deal with as firearms owners and as a manufacturer of firearms and firearms accessories in California. I don't know if you saw their most recent post about what to shoot, but all of their rifles had 30-round magazines in it. These guys get to have stuff at the factory, and they can take them home when they want to. So this whole thing is horse shit. I don't want to pander to military members and all these people that hold a certain reverence for military members and people that respect the Second Amendment. There's a lot of phraseology in here that's not. It sounds like somebody trying to imitate somebody versus someone who's actually caring about this stuff. So, moving on. Finally, the bottom. We also support organizations such as the National Rifle Association. I couldn't tell because you set it up top, you fucking... Anyways, we also support Suppressor Association and the National Shooting Sports Foundation, among others. And we are proud of our long history sponsoring USPSA, IDPA, 3-gun, and other shooting sports. Come by our office and you'll see we share the same values as you do when it comes to the freedom to bear arms. They're using words, places that don't make sense. I forget what movie it is, but it was that movie where Seth Rogen was the alien. And that one girl was super into Jesus and then stopped because she found out there's an alien, and then just started swearing, and her swearing sounded so ridiculous. That's what this stuff sounds like to me. But our focus is on providing the warfighter, first responder, and armed citizen with the tools they need to win the fight, and we promise to keep making products that support the Second Amendment, the American worker, our economy, our military, and freedom in general. If they had said, we provide products that do this, and we will not make the same mistake that we made previously and will continue to support the Second Amendment, that would have been a lot better. But they're pandering to people thinking we're stupid. And this guy shouldn't have written this. This was stupid. He should have gave it to one of the other guys that is actually into the Second Amendment that works for him, and maybe it would have went a little better. Straight up, two things. One, a lot of people that were never going to bail on Surefire anyway because of this, they did this because an apology they can grasp onto and say, look, they do care. They do care. It was a mistake. They made a mistake. They live in California. That's already a mistake, guys. Leave them alone. They did that, right? And this is the same thing that Springfield did, except I'll give Surefire credit. They didn't parade a bunch of kids in front of us and their spokesman. They released a statement. So there's that, at least, I guess. Forgive them. So I'm gonna still buy their stuff. It is the best. I'm going to not have the same feelings as I do with Benchmade because I'm trying to weigh it against, am I biased? And of course we all are. And I'm not gonna lie, if I found out, you know, some of my favorite firearms manufacturers like HK or SIG were doing this very thing, I'd be devastated. So I'll buy Surefire stuff, mostly because it's the best and I'm heavily invested in it. I'm not happy about this. I think this apology is bullshit, just like Springfield's. I think that in an attempt to apologize and regain the support of the community, they instead put out a fluff piece that was full of phrases that they thought we'd want to hear, and they spent more time fluffing than they did talking about the incident, which they did in the beginning, and they spent 2 paragraphs on it. Let me put it in frame here, sorry. These 2 tiny little paragraphs, sorry. It's hard to do this through a viewfinder. These 2 paragraphs right here, so essentially 1 paragraph compared to the others, is where they apologize. Starting here, it's a fluff piece. Just fluff, fluff, fluff. Look at our veterans. We love the Second Amendment. We like that amendment that comes second in the Bill of Rights, guys. Don't you like to do guns and shoot targets? Ha ha ha. Yeah, no. This is bad. But grand scheme of things, they are in California. California is probably the 3rd most corrupt state behind number 1 is New York, number 2 is New Jersey, or vice versa, I forget. But California is right behind them. New York for 20 years, I'll tell you that being done there is all based on bribes and knowing people. So down in the devil's backyard, you're gonna have to do some dirty and unsavory things, but that doesn't excuse the fact that they chose to be there. They chose to do the things they did, and they're gonna continue to do things like this. All these companies, they'll make a blame panel or committee or PAC or whatever, let them go do dirty things, and then say, oh no, we didn't supervise them enough. Just like Springfield. The only reason I'm giving Surefire a pass, which I started to say in the beginning, the only reason I'm giving Surefire a pass is because they didn't directly support legislation to try to get them out of something and directly hurt the Second Amendment community. So that's why I'm forgiving them. That's why I'm still going to buy their products. If it comes out that they were shooting money to laws that got passed in California, or anything that's an elitist law, like I get to have this stuff and you don't, which they benefit from because they're a manufacturer, but do that stuff and it comes out, I'll be done with Surefire. I'll figure something out, but in the meantime, I'm going to keep my eyes on them. And if anything happens, please let me know ASAP, because this is important. But, oh man, Surefire. You let me down a little bit, Surefire. I'm not going to lie to you. For you who are asking, this isn't an easy video for me to make, and I'm not super excited about it. And obviously I'm doing it as cheaply as possible, but janky and off the cuff. But with you, I'm not pleased. I'm going to keep supporting them, and God help them if they screw up again, because everybody's watching them. So, well, those that care, there's some people that are always going to support them anyway, so whatever. So that's where I stand. Love it or leave it. Good job in explaining my position on this. If you're confused, or you have any comments, or you want to tell me I'm wrong or anything, just go ahead and throw it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Take care of each other, stay safe, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.